Sub D, a couple of process concerns I've had, and I generally agree with most of the questions today. I don't have the background, but I generally agree with most of the previous speakers. One was, it seems irregular, in my experience on the board, that this handwritten document is the proposed settlement agreement that was agreed to by somebody, and I don't know what level, the board, the staff, who signed off on the 60-day requirement. And then, as was noted by other speakers, the public was only informed in a very short time that this was going to come available. The document itself has additions, deletions, at least one incoherent sentence. It's just not a finalized, formal, professional document if you read through it on the website. And I only just quickly skimmed it this morning, so I don't have a lot of comments, but I will talk to some specifics. The other tradition is that usually these graphics, one or two would have been in the paper, they would have been on the website, to alert people to what's the subject matter of the hearing. What are the options involved, tied to a narrative usually. And with a website, you could easily have done that for this purpose and done it very well. You also had explained some of the options, some of the history that Mr. Windhorn talked about, but that wasn't done. People had to show up today with little notice to try to get that information. That was good information this morning. I guess the biggest procedural concern for me is this rush to settle. And who initiated and who agreed to the 60-day term? Who delayed the public notice, as inadequate as it was? Because again, you're not fully informing the public, and there are some folks in Clallam Bay that were concerned, asked me a couple of questions, they didn't know much about it. And in Jane's defense, actually, she should have promoted, she's a great promoter for Clallam Bay CQ, but Clallam Bay Fun Days is this weekend. So if you feel guilty about something, come to Clallam Bay, buy a hot dog, contribute to the scholarship and a fireworks auction, buy a pie for I think $100 if you're an active bidder.
200.
A lot of good things in Clallam Bay this weekend. And the fact that the board approved in the paper, and I know, I'm used to the Daily News misconstruing some things, but to a lot of the public, this is a done deal. People that talk to me, they didn't show up today because the board approved the settlement. If you read the fine print, they didn't approve the final settlement, and they wanted public participation, and that's what today's meeting is about. But to a lot of the public, and I suspect many in Clallam Bay CQ, it was approved by the Board of Commissioners. A 2-to-1 vote, but the one vote that was concerned about procedures didn't talk about procedures that he was concerned about, or remedies to address those procedures. It was just, I'm voting no because or I won't, whatever it was, because of procedures. You heard a lot of questions today about procedures. Things that weren't addressed, like this mystery box of evidence in the basement, the evidence on the CD. To me, that should be fully explained to the public. It came up late, and I think one newspaper article. That's not very adequate discussion. So generally, and just skimming through the document, the county has the obligation to buy the C-Block property, but I didn't see a cost specific to the C-Block property. One could look at the appraised value, market values, talk to realtors, and find out, is that a good deal for the county? So personally, I'd like to see that advertised. The county will purchase the 2 waterfront lots from Mr. Lang, $210,000. And I have the 2 board members here today, and has Commissioner Beach actually been to those 2 lots? And I know you won't answer probably, but those aren't buildable lots. They're eroding, and you're paying $210,000. And at some point in our lifetime, probably that erosion will get into the county engineer's domain. And what's he going to do to protect the road once you've got these high-cost lots that both could be public park, but selling it as a public park, it's different on the C-Block property. But the 2 that are so narrow and have active erosion, that's not really quality park. It does provide access along these, and I agree that's a great goal to keep doing that incrementally until you get to the 26 acres at Cliff Point. But the way this is done, and because of a couple other provisions in the settlement that I'll get to, I just don't think it's an adequate protection for the public interest. Then you're going to remove the house and the outbuilding. There's no cost listed for what that's going to be. I'd encourage you to recycle the house, have Monroe Brothers or somebody agree with somebody to move the house, set it down as a good quality house. So is the other building, which was an issue as far as its use, but it's a quality building. And then, you know, who's gonna pay for the relocation? What are the restoration costs on the beach, the edge of the road, the public access on the road for disabled people and getting down to the beach if you're disabled? Another provision says, county will remove the bulkhead. Are there permits? If you're required to get the permits in the agreement. What's the cost of permits? How long will that take? And who's gonna pay for the restoration, the removal? What are the actual costs of removing that riprap? Now, probably the road department could do it, store it, satellite shop, and reuse some of that rock. But none of that's addressed in the document. It could be, and I think it would assuage some public concerns. Keeping the document confidential. Now, there are a lot of ways that attorneys like to keep things confidential as much as they can, as legally as they can. But for some public officials who like to keep it confidential, sealed records, that's a great way to cover your records from the public. And I disagree with that. And commissioners probably will remember, I couldn't get a second vote to have a public discussion about the age discrimination case. $3.4 million plus all the county costs involved in that, staff costs. It was a large case, but those records were sealed. Board of Commissioners were never warned at 1 million, 2 million, 3 million exposure that case was coming along. It was pretty much an open check to the firm that now is involved in this case. So again, I'd encourage the board to work with the prosecutor within the law to find out when should you be warned when there's an exposure that's very costly to the county. As I recall that case, the reinsurer said, this is a loser, settle that case or we're not gonna cover you. Now, it's probably not that simple, but that's my recollection of what happened. And so it was discussed. That's a very high value, high exposure case. And it could be that you were headed this way. I don't know that, but it sounds like from some people that there were gonna be some records sealed. Now, it's great that it's on the internet. It should have been done that way from day one. Parties agree to bear their own costs. So what are the total county costs involved in this? I'm going to be interesting. Several people have asked about that today. Lots will be dedicated to public use, 2 of the lots. So it seems like there is some ground there, but you're going to have costs taking away that riprap in a different clause in the agreement. What are those costs going to be? And then more importantly, once you remove that riprap, what's going to happen to the neighboring owner? And I haven't been out there in a few weeks, but as I recall, the neighboring owner to the east has riprap protection on their lot. I don't know if that was permitted or not, but it's there. So what's the county, if you remove the riprap and there's more exposure to storm damage, which is increasing because of climate change, what's gonna happen to the county's costs on that?